Hey, hello everybody, this is Maltenan, and I've got a new exciting tutorial for you. It's rather an experiment than a tutorial. It's a follow-up to the um, particle playground on fire experiment that I did like 2 weeks ago or something like that. So today, since it's late November and we're all going to need to do some Christmas related animation sooner or later, I figured that maybe today I'll cover making snow. And what's interesting about this experiment is that, as you can see in here, the snow will stick to the actor or to the background, to the buildings or whatever you have in your footage. So this tutorial focuses on making the snow stick rather than making it look good and look like a snow. It is something for you to experiment with. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so we're starting off by importing the footage and dragging it onto the Make New Comp button. So as you can see, this is George, and he's pretending that the snow is falling onto his head and so on. So we're going to generate the modification map, as you remember from the particle playground on fire tutorial, and let's call this resistant map. This is going to be, a name that means something rather than the modification map. Okay, so first of all, let's duplicate this layer and let's pre-compose it. So Ctrl Shift C or Command Shift C on the Macintosh, and let's call this resistant George. Okay, and Alt double click on this, and we're going to basically do what we did with the fire example, but a little bit different. First of all, let's find some edges. Find edges, that's right. And this already looks good, but I'd like to reverse the colors, so let's click on invert. And the next step is to apply some threshold, and yep, that looks okay, I think. If this doesn't work for you, you might try to add a Minimax filter, for example, to this. So like set it to 2 or something to make the edges thicker. But I think that we're good with what we have straight from find edges and threshold. So this is it, and the last step is to key out the blacks. Luma key, and key out darker. That's it. Okay, great. So we're good with this, and we can drag this to the bottom, turn it off, we don't need it. And next thing is we'd like to create a new solid that is going to be our snow layer. So let's call this snow particles, and let's apply particle playground. And by the way, as I promised, I'm planning to do some trapcode particular tutorials, and maybe not only particular but also the other plugins, and I have some cool ideas on how you can use those filters, so stay tuned and watch out for new tutorials. Okay, so let's set the color of the particles to white, because snow is generally white. And okay, we have this cannon that is looking like a fountain, so we have to change the direction to 180 degrees, so it's falling down. And there's also this barrel radius, which basically is the radius of the cannon. So let's set this to 400 pixels, maybe a bit less. How big is this composition? Let me see. Well, it's 640, so we can set this to 320. That's exactly what we need. Let me just zoom out for a second. Okay, we have the snow. And the next thing is particle radius. We can increase the radius of the particles. And let's see how fast they're going. Well, that's a bit fast for a snow ride, so let's change the velocity to 50, and maybe let's move the cannon position somewhere in here. When you hold shift, you'll just it will snap to horizontal or vertical axis from the point that you're dragging it. So I'm holding shift right now to put it just above the footage area, and that already looks okay, I think. Well, it's still a bit fast, so maybe let's go to gravity and change the force to maybe 60, half of that. And let's see how it looks right now. Okay, that's much better. Much better. So that's it. Maybe let's apply some fast blur to blur the particles so they look more like a snow than a dots. So like 5. No, that's too much. 3. It's okay, I think. And here's the fun part. Remember how we set up the layer exploder in Particle Playground on Fire tutorial to create particles from George's hands, right? From George's movement. And in this case, we are doing something different. We don't want to use layer exploder, but indeed we want to use a property mapper, and we want to use layer as map, and the layer we want to use is resistance George. And now we have to map the values from the resistance George layer, and we have a bunch to choose from, but the ones that we are interested in are X speed and Y speed. And what this will do, as you can see, it makes the particles stop. It makes them stick for a while. It just slows them down. And in case you have a heavy gravity going on, that works well for the particles that are not colliding with any edges. You might want to set this value to negative, for example -2. Let's see what that will do. It makes them stick a little bit longer, as you can see, before the gravity is strong enough to pull them down. So basically this is it. As you can see, this is maybe not the best example, but I hope you will find some cool ways to use this. And one of the ways may be, for example, playing with text or logos or stuff like that. So right now let's create a new comp. Let's make it 640 by 320 and maybe like 300 frames or so. And let's drag my company's logo and let's fill this with white. Fill. Where's the fill filter? Okay, here it is. And let's set it to white. And full resolution, that's right. Okay, that looks pretty nice. And now we can duplicate the layer and pre-compose it again. So we're basically creating another resistance map. Resistance logo. And we're going to put it below, and let's create some nice background. Like a solid, make comp size, and apply a ramp effect, for example. Like so. And maybe let's change the colors. Let's set this to like a dark blue or something. Dark blue, and the upper color to whatever, really. Something like that. Well, never mind that. The thing is that we want to make a snow falling down from the sky onto this logo, and this is exactly what we are going to do in a second. So, since we have a good snow setup in this composition, we can just simply copy paste it. So, select the layer and press Ctrl C, and go to the new composition and press Ctrl V to paste it. And the only thing that we have to change is the layer map, and we have to set it to resistance logo. So let's do that right now, and let's see if it works. It should work. And it works, as you can see, but something is definitely not right. So let's do some small changes. Let's extend the length of the comp. and let's see what's wrong. And we also have to change the length of the resistance logo composition to 6 seconds. Okay, let's go back. I believe we can use this button. Yes, pretty cool feature in CS3. Okay, I can see the snow sticks, but something is wrong. Let's call this snow, and let's see what's going on with this. And oh, I believe I know what's the problem. The problem is that the snow particles layer is bigger than the composition, and it calculates the position of the colliding pixels, you know, the pixels from the resistance logo map, based on the comp size. So we have to change the size of our particle layer. So let's press Ctrl Shift Y and click on Make Comp Size. That's it, and let's reset the position, and it should be fine right now. Yep, looks like it works. Yes, pretty nice. And it will probably look even nicer if the logo would be black, or maybe something like this. And let's add a little glow to it also. Where's the layer styles? Layer styles, outer glow. Let's change the color of the glow to something like this. Maybe a little bit wider. And let's change the opacity to 30. Or 10. Yeah, 10 is okay. And let's see how that looks. Pretty damn cool, I'll tell you that. Okay, so what else can we do with this? For example, if you don't have a logo and you don't have the or whatever, then for example maybe you have some image, like a background image, or you know, whatever. So let's make another example. Let's drag this to make new comp button. You know what, this is kind of huge, so let's maybe size it down to about half, so 50%, and the same thing with the comp size. And we can log the aspect ratio and divide this by 2, and that's okay. And let's pre-compose this, duplicate and pre-compose, Ctrl Shift C. And let's call this resistance house. Let's drag this to the bottom, double click on it. Let's apply some fine edges. Fine edges looks okay for me. Okay, let's apply Luma key and key out brighter in this case. And this looks nice, I think. Maybe some edge thin parameter. Let me take a closer look on this. Yeah, I think that's okay. And of course, let's fill this with the white color. You know what, I'm not really sure if that matters really, but I just like to do it. It makes things more clear to me, and I found out that some of the property mapper functions in the particle playground works better with alpha, and others work better with color and such. So this is basically what I'm using all the time. So we have the resistance map, great. And now it's time for our particles. So again, we can copy the snow particles layer. So Ctrl C, and let's paste it in. Ctrl V, let's call this snow particles, that's right. And we have to change the size of this again. So Ctrl Shift Y, make comp size, and reset its position, and once again set the layer map to resistance house, and okay, let's see. Okay, yes, I think that looks pretty good. As you can see, the particle sticks to this area. Oh, this is kind of cool when it's going backwards, and you can see that they are not falling through from this side or from this side. So this is basically working. I hope that you found this useful, because like I said, this is just an experiment. You can play with it and see how you can use it in your work. I hope you've enjoyed it and that you find it useful. Once again, this is Maltenan for maltenan.com and creativecow.net. See you next time. Cheers.